Hi, I'd like to share with you a little bit about the Harris moves. I think before you read about what they are, it would be helpful to have a little bit of background information about where they come from and how they can be used to help our students. So let's get started. First of all, we all know that regardless of what grade you teach, whether it is fourth grade or 10th grade, it's our job to create students who know how to read source material, think about that source material, create a claim of some sort, and then use it in their own writing. These are just a few of the college and career ready writing standards that involve gathering relevant information and using it in their own writing. So we have a big job to do. And if you're anything like me, you know that sometimes our students don't quite understand how to incorporate source material into their own writing. So even though I say please include evidence, they do include evidence, but it turns out something like this. I get the dreaded quote bomb, where the student has a claim, they have their own ideas, but then they go and they grab evidence and maybe good evidence, but drop it in without explaining how it furthers their own thinking. I sometimes get kids who choose source material that doesn't really match what they're trying to say. It's almost as if it came from another world. And then I sometimes get students who rely too much on source material. It ends up flooding their entire thinking so that really all they've used are other people's ideas and not really to further anything that they were trying to say. And that can be frustrating. So, here we're learning about the Harris moves, and you might be wondering, well, who is Harris? What are the Harris moves? Well, Joseph Harris wrote a book called Rewriting: How to Do Things with Texts. In this book, he offers teachers and students some moves that they can use that explain different ways that we can put source material into our writing. A big premise of his book is that academic writing is a social practice, meaning when we or our students come up with ideas, they didn't come from nowhere. They come from all the things that we've been reading. And so when we incorporate source material, that's a way of interacting with that source material and using the source material strategically and purposefully to forward our own thinking. We want our students to see that they're part of an ongoing conversation when they come up with a claim and use source material. They're adding to that conversation. And so, in his book, Rewriting, he puts forth the Harris moves, the different ways that we can use source material. And that's what we're going to be sharing with you here. So before we do some reading on the Harris moves and learn more about each of those moves, I do want you to understand teaching these moves is not the only way to help students incorporate source material, but it is one helpful way that I have found. It has helped my students become more purposeful when they're choosing the evidence that they want to incorporate. And it also helps them to be more strategic when they're making their arguments or forming their thesis. So there's nothing to lose here. I hope that you find these moves helpful in your own classroom.